This is for Sinigang, my favorite dish to cook right now in terms of Filipino cuisine. It's so weird to say Filipino cuisine because I feel I kind of grew up on Filipino food. For the last almost 25 years of my life, I started hanging out with Filipino kids in the late 90s, including Judy, and this dish is probably the thing I love the most, sinigang. How do I describe it? It is a Filipino stew. Now, a lot of you guys are Filipino, so you guys already know what this is. But it's healthy, it's hearty, it's got a lot of vegetables, and it's got some meat in it, some really good protein, and kids love it. It's crazy because, I'm gonna show you all these ingredients. This is our version of sinigang. And yes, everything starts with a tamarind soup mix. Now, this little fruit, or whatever you call this, seed pod, is what they use in the Philippines. I believe they boil this down until it's soft, turn it into a paste, and then they mash it, and then they use a paste. But we're just using this soup mix. Now, I'm kind of sad because we only have 1.5 of these, not even a half. I think we normally use 2. But this is the soup. You can use this, I think. Tamarind concentrate. This is Thai. But I might actually use a little bit of this. Just a tiny bit. My sister gave this to me for pad Thai. I might have to steal some for this sinigang. These packets, it's really convenient. It's similar to using curry bricks when making Japanese curry. Pork. So a lot of sinigang is made with shrimp, as you can see in the picture. I have had that. I've even had it with salmon. Shout out to Auntie Lai at the Pike Place Market. Go to Oriental Mart. You'll have the best sinigang you'll ever have in your life. It's salmon, but today I'm using pork. I like pork for a couple reasons. One, it's more friendly for kids that aren't into seafood. 2, there's a hardiness to it that is undeniable, and I always get the cuts with the bone. So this is some back rib knife cut. So there's long bones in this, lots of flavor. And these are Berkshire Kudo Buta pork spare ribs. All kind of expensive compared to most pork, but so delicious. And these little bones and the big bones release a lot of cartilage, a lot of goodness into the soup, making it way more healthy. For the veggies, daikon, this is a Japanese radish, eggplant. Normally I try to get Japanese eggplant, which is smaller and slightly sweeter. This is just your standard eggplant, and yeah, this is really good too. Bok choy, baby bok choy, that's the way to go with the greens. And then for green beans, there's this long bean that Filipinos use, but this is what's readily available. So I'd say in a way, this is kind of like the Americanized version, because you can always find French green beans. And then the tomatoes and onions, which leads me to the first thing I'm gonna do, which is marinate the tomatoes. A little trick that Papa showed me is to take your tomatoes and chop them up with your onions, and then what you're gonna do is mix it with that tamarind soup base. I don't know what it does, but he insisted on doing it, and it was delicious. We use plenty of tomatoes. I'm just using these on the vine tomatoes. I might actually use 4. I like more tomatoes than less, so that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm not even gonna worry about this little bit. It's all gonna dissolve, and you don't even have to really chop it fine at all. The onion, same thing. I don't worry about chopping it up finely or even having a certain type of cut. I just want to chop it, get it into the bowl. Always just take off that last flap. Then I'm going to take my tamarind mix. I'm just going to dump all these in there, because I am making a really big batch. One day I might want to try making this with actual tamarind. Oh yeah, there we go. Papa Lee massaged it into the tomatoes. There we go. Done. Okay, for the pork, there ain't really a lot here. Just put them into bite-sized pieces if you can. This one, it's not really gonna be bite-sized pieces. I'm just gonna leave them like that. So what I try to do is I look for a little bone like this right here and try to cut right in between it. But yeah, it's more clear right here. Just cut it right there. bones are way bigger right here. Same thing, right between. Now, if you had a cleaver, which I do have, you could totally break through this, but there's really no need to because the girls won't touch this. I'll just eat these as I, serve myself. It will be nice to not have to cut these. So that's it. I'm gonna put this on here. This will be ready to cook. For the bok choy, nothing really. Just gonna cut off the bottom, which I already did. Separate them. I get all the little bits. I've already soaked this in water. I just want to make sure there's no dirt. Sometimes there can be dirt in the layers. When I'm done, throw it into the bin. Same thing with all these. We throw this in at the very, very end, and you want it to be delicate. I like uniformity. So these smaller pieces, this is a perfect size or smaller. The bigger ones, see, I'm just trying to match it. Bam! This is also gonna go in kind of last. I will be putting this in after all the other ingredients start cooking. This is very, very last. Green beans kind of going along with these. This is what the tomatoes look like. Not really a lot going on here. You can see a lot of moisture coming out of both the onions and the tomatoes. There's a lot of salt. There's some MSG inside of that Sinigang mix. So yeah, we'll just let it do its thing. I am gonna get started on cooking the meat. One other thing I do is I get lots of water. I like to use filtered water because why not? Oil up the pan. You don't need that much because there's a lot of fat in pork. I'm using avocado oil. The pot is getting nice and hot right now. By the way, a Dutch oven, that's the way to go. Then I just start putting this in. Notice I did not put any salt. I'm just trying to sear the outside of these. That's all I'm doing here. So I've got it on high heat, by the way. Okay, while that's going, I'm gonna quickly just prepare this daikon. Bite-sized pieces. This you definitely want uniform because you want to put it in all at once. You want them to cook evenly. Like any dish for kids, cutting it on the smaller side is gonna be your best bet. Even this is too big in my opinion. So, bam, there you go. That's what I'm going for. That's all you're trying to do. A lot of people skip this step, but I feel it brings out another layer of flavor. And when I say skip this step, it's just not part of the step that I see in the Filipino recipes, at least the ones on YouTube. So what I'm going to do now, throw all these back in there. I'm going to get some salt. Be easy on the salt because remember, you've got a lot of salt in that sinigang mix. There we go. There we go. Look at how much juice has come out. It's going to help to deglaze the pan actually. Gotta get all that goodness out there. So I'm not really trying to cook the onions here or the tomatoes because all that's going to happen as it boils. But I do this part to kind of deglaze the bottom. The acids from the tomatoes, the onions, it's gonna help do that. That's all the good stuff. That's that added layer of flavor that I think kind of unique, at least from what I've seen. Filtered water. Oh yeah. There we go. By the way, the heat is on high. Yes, I am getting this way, 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 way up there. Okay, so at this point, I'm just gonna let it cook. It's going to really tenderize that pork. It's gonna bring out all the goodness of those bones. And I'm gonna start cleaning, but also start throwing in other ingredients, but I'm gonna wait for this to really start boiling before I add anything else. Whoa! You want sinigang? So for the green beans, I just cut off the little bits and pieces like this, just because who wants this in their mouth? So I've been cooking for, I want to say in about 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and skim off all that gunk. Gotta get a bowl here. I'm assuming you do this because this is some of the impurities. I don't know how it works. Now when I make a beef stock or any kind of bone broth, all this stuff isn't as prevalent because I roast my bones, and they say when you roast the bones it kind of gets rid of it. I would love to see if someone's ever done a study on this. What is this foam from? I'm assuming it's from the meat. I have turned down the heat a little bit to about medium low. I haven't stirred this yet though. Stir it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so freaking bomb. So at this point, I prepped everything except the eggplant. I like to cut that right when I'm gonna put it into the sinigang. I'm just gonna let this cook for another 30 minutes and slowly start adding these other ingredients. What I'll probably do though is make rice. Okay, it's boiling now, so I'm going to get the cover, making rice.
Will it be ready today?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely be ready today. Okay, so it's been 40 minutes. The meat is fall off the bone good right now. In fact, maybe too tender because the bones are probably just swimming in there. Daikon goes in first. Stir that up. I'm gonna cover this back up though, because that's gonna help speed up the process of cooking that daikon because that is pretty firm. So the eggplant is last just because sometimes it can start turning colors. Probably nobody on earth has ever cut this top part off like this. I don't know what I was trying to do there. I'm trying to be fancy. It's okay to leave these fairly big just because it is gonna soften up quite a bit and you don't want it to kind of get lost in there. So I'm gonna keep these guys fairly big. A little bit bigger than the daikon. Woo! Gotta turn it down. I turned up the heat because I added some water. The daikon is not quite cooked yet, but I'm gonna start adding these other ingredients. I'm gonna add the green beans first. I'm starting to follow in Mama's footsteps. I do not measure nothing no more when it comes to sinigang. What? A little bit of that maybe. A little bit of that maybe, okay? The girls are negotiating with me about candy. I'm just gonna put the eggplant in there. Oh yeah, that's the rice right there. I'm a little nervous about the flavor because Judy's usually here to tell me. Okay, I'm hoping it's good. No, obviously, I'm tasting it so I can adjust it if it needs it. The only thing left is the bok choy. The bok choy you put in right at the very end.
How long do you think we'll have sinigang for?
Oh my gosh, you want to try it?
Yeah.
You gotta really blow on it, okay? It's not as savory. Well, then we're gonna put some MSG in there. MSG to the rescue. Then I'm just put a little bit of salt.
I think it's that you need to cook it down more.
Cook it down more?
Probably what?
Yeah, you might be right. Then that's what I'll do. Okay, the date and time when it's gonna be done. It's gonna be done probably, I wanna say, in 5 to 10 minutes. Taste test number 2. Be honest. Tell me if it needs anything.
It's so good. Did you do something different? Not like in a bad way. Oh, just so good. Not like extra style.
There we go. I don't know if I was recording, but I'm adding the bok choy, and Judy just lets the residual heat cook it. So what I do is I just kind of poke it down, and that's it. That is the sinigang.